5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. I hope you're doing good. Welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. I think we're back to weekly now, so a weekly vlog. Yeah, today's Monday. I'm currently reading one thing, and that's it. I'm reading The Sound of Stars on audio. This is by Alechia, and this is a young adult sci-fi in which the world has been taken over by the Allori, who are aliens, and due to a misunderstanding between the leaders of Earth and the invading Allori. I don't know what that misunderstanding is, and I'm already like a good 90 pages into the book and they haven't told us yet, so who knows. But basically humans are being kept, and under very strict regulations. They're not allowed access to art or music or science or books or anything like that. I forget why. They're being treated as a product by the Allori. Anyway, our main human character, Ellie, is a teenage girl who has an illegal secret library, and she's sort of sharing books with the other residents in her apartment building. And our alien main character, who has an alien name that I can't quite remember, he loves music, and he also has emotions, which this alien race is not supposed to have. And I gather they're going to come together and form some kind of arts-based rebellion. I'm enjoying this. This is a good time. Like I say, I'm about 90 pages in, so we've met the characters, we've established that they both don't like the way things are going. I also really like the audiobook production. They've got different narrators for the different perspectives, which is something I always enjoy because you can tell whose perspective you're in. And yeah, it's a girl who likes books and an alien who likes pop music. What's not to love? So last week I had an absurdly successful reading week. I read 5 things, although one of them was a short story. I still read 4 actual books. I do not anticipate this week being nearly as successful, partly because I'm going away over the weekend, and also, I don't know, I was just in a really reading mood last week, and there's no telling how long that will stick around. But the books I have like on my radar for this week are The Red Scholar's Wake by Alechia and Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is the sequel to Legendborn, which I reread last year before Bloodmarked came out. Bloodmarked is now out and I need to read it, so I'm not sure which one I'm going to pick up first. I'll see how I feel, I think. This is Sapphics in Space with Vietnamese cultural influences because the author is Vietnamese, and a sentient spaceship, so love that. This is Arthurian, secret societies, magic, all that good stuff. I might start both. I'll probably start both and finish nothing this week, knowing me. I also want to pick up an ebook, but I have no idea what that will be, so I will just see what takes my fancy when I'm scrolling through my Kindle later on. I'm going to keep this intro as brief as possible, mainly because I feel in a really rambly mood today, and honestly I've got nothing else useful to say, so we'll leave it there, and I will catch you when I've read something. pals, happy Wednesday. I've got a reading update for you. Apologies if there's loads of background noise. It's shitting it down with rain and all the cars on the road being very noisy, but I don't know why I say this because I'm pretty sure it won't be picked up on camera, but I feel like it's the thing to do. Anyway, I'm in the middle of in the middle is generous. I have begun 3 books. I was already reading Sound of Stars. Oh god, that was going to be so smooth and I nearly dropped everything. I will start with Sound of Stars, The Sound of Stars. I am now on page 121 in this book. I think I had barely started it when I first spoke about this, but it kind of is what it says on the tin. There's a girl, there's an alien, they both want to rebel via books and pop music, with books and pop music. That's what's brought them together. I'm not quite sure how books and pop music are going to save the world, but I'm looking forward to finding out. I really didn't know what to expect with this book in terms of the plot and how, given the structure, like the world structure that's been set up with these aliens in power and very tightly controlling the humans, I wasn't sure like how this revolution could come about. Things have taken an interesting turn and I'm really curious to see where this goes. I think it's going to be more of like a 2-person like rebellion. And I'm looking, 2-person, is an alien a person? I guess. What makes a person a person? Is it sentience? That's a very big question that I don't have the capacity to deal with today. But I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Basically, I'm less than halfway through still. I'm what, about a third through, roughly? So there's still space for lots of things to happen, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this at the moment. I have very little to say about this because I'm about 20 pages in, but this is Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch. This is the second book in the, I think it's called the Gentleman Bastards series. The first book being The Lies of Locke Lamora, which I read I think about a year ago. I think it was very early in 2022. And so I was so proud of myself because I'm reading this on Kindle because I also have the ebook. And I was scrolling through trying to pick an ebook to read, and I really wanted to start a new series, but I said no, continue a series you've already started. And so I did that, and that's what I'm doing. Like I say, I'm about 20 pages in, so absolutely no clue what's going to happen. There's a very distressing prologue, and I'm already like stressed about that because it's a whole big betrayal thing. And so I know that's gonna happen at some point. I'm sure it's not going to be exactly as it seems because that tends to be how these things go, but I'm looking forward to finding out. I think this is going to take me, because it's a big chunky book, it's like 600 pages. So it's going to take me probably a really long time to read, probably a few weeks if I'm only reading on my Kindle. But I think that's probably for the best because it's quite a chunky, like high fantasy with a lot of world building, quite a lot of stuff going on. So I can't even tell you any of the plot because that would be such massive spoilers for the first book. So this is a fantasy, but it's a fairly low magic fantasy. In the first book, we're following Locke and his band of thieves as they pull off the biggest con of their careers, and obviously lots of shit happens, lots of shit goes down in the first book, and I couldn't really remember the details of the first book. So I don't really know what they're up to. Like, I don't know what was set up at the very end of the first book for them to be up to, or I don't think there was anything set up, actually. I think they just escaped the mess they'd got themselves into and were like sailing off into the sunset kind of a thing. And now they've established themselves, they're running a con. We'll see what happens. This is the third book I'm currently reading. This is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn, and this is another series continuation. This is the second book in the Legendborn cycle. I'm about 100 pages in. I'm already really loving this, but there's really not too much I can say because, again, it's a series continuation, so that would be massive spoilers for the first book, especially because the like path that this book is taking is really not set up at the like beginning of the first book. Like, sometimes you can kind of see the stages of where the series arc is going to go. That really wasn't the case with this series. When you're reading even like the first half, maybe even first 3/4 of Legendborn, you could not predict. You could guess, but you couldn't like predict where this book is going to go. So I won't spoil anything, but essentially the first book was our main character Bree infiltrating the secret society, the Legendborn Society, at her university to find out what happened to her mother, who had died prior to the start of the first book, and she believes that the Legendborn Society had something to do with it. And in this book, it's her actually like having to figure out how that society works, figure out her place in it, and figure out her own power and how to use it, because she had no intention of actually sticking with the society in the first book. Sorry, I'm really distracted. My cat's screaming at me from outside the door. Things have just taken a very dramatic turn of events. I'm excited. All I want to do right now is read this book. My cat is screaming at me. So I think that is this reading update up to date, and I will leave it there. I have nothing else of interest to say, so I won't.
fine. Been trying to get a hold of you all night. We haven't talked in months, but that's alright. Was wondering if you wanted to go for a drive. I just need some fresh air and an old friend. I'm so glad that we started talking again. Yo, turn up the radio, I love this song. Remember when we used to stay up all night long? How's it been going? Oh, how's it, mom? The roads are so empty, this is so damn calm. If we stick on the highway, we can drive all night long. If it's fine by you, I'll take the passenger seat. We can drive around to the sky and see meat. If it's fine by you, I'll take the passenger seat. I got my hands out the window, feeling the ocean breeze. Are we going again? Just you and I on another one of our famous midnight drives. Do you need to rant or just stay silent? Either or, you know I'm compliant. Take a left up ahead, we're going towards the horizon. Don't stop going till we see the sun rising. You know this is who we are, this is what we do. Driving in circles till we find something new. The only person I enjoy sitting in the car with is you. If it's fine by you, I'll take the passenger seat. We can drive around to the sky and see meat. If it's fine by you, I'll take the passenger seat. I got my hands out the window, feeling the ocean breeze. If it's fine by you, I'll be beside you, staring out the window, looking at the summer view. Fine by you, I'll be next to you. If it's fine by you, I'll be beside you, speeding down the highway with the wind blowing through. Everything around us feeling minuscule. If it's fine by you, I'll take.
Hey pals. Wow, I've forgotten how to talk. I have actually forgotten how to talk, so this update's gonna be interesting. It's Sunday the 22nd of January. This turned into a 2-week long vlog because I felt like I didn't do very much reading last week, and then I was away all weekend. I was away for like 4 days, so didn't do any reading over last weekend, and thought, okay, I'll turn it into a 2-week long vlog. And then this week I've not read or updated anything, so this is an odd one, but I have read some things and I want to like tell you about it anyway. So I don't know how this vlog is gonna wind up, but today is Sunday and I am going to wrap things up. So apologies in advance. I say this, you should know what to expect from me, which is rambling incoherence at the best of times. But I genuinely haven't touched most of these books since Monday or before that, so who knows what I've got to say about them. But I did finish, let's start with The Sound of Stars, which I have, don't fall, which I have finished reading. I listened to the audiobook for this. I finished it on Monday on the train. I had some serious train drama over the weekend. I stood for an hour and a half waiting for a train that just kept getting cancelled. But anyway, I did manage to finish the audiobook for this, so not all was lost. I really enjoyed this book. This was like quite a light-hearted, quite a sweet book, all things considered, considering it's about like the end of humanity. And it also, or the potential end of humanity, and it also does touch on some like serious like contemporary issues. Like our main character, as you can see from the cover image, she's black, and although they're now living in a kind of end times alien invasion, racism prevails, so she still has to experience that, and that is referenced throughout, and just various sort of end of the world kind of topics come up. But despite all that, it's still quite like a lovely book. There was also a romance in this book between our two main characters. I don't know if I should have seen that coming, but I didn't. But it was lovely, and this also like is fairly queer as a book. It's not like the central theme of the book, but it's there in several characters, which I always like to see, especially in young adult books. I've said it before, I'll say it until I stop reading books, but I am so glad to see like how many queer books exist in the young adult market now compared to when I was like actually the target audience. I love to see it, I love to keep seeing it, so that's great. So yeah, this was like a little bit predictable, a little bit cheesy almost, but like I think those are good things in young adult books. I've said that before as well. So it was not the most complex of plots or world building, but I think appropriate for a YA book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, it was just overall quite like a fun, good vibes time. She has written another book, The Kindred. I have no idea what that's about, but I might check that out because I really like this. So, and that is the only book I've actually finished in this reading vlog. The only book I finished? Yeah, the only book I finished in this reading vlog. Let's move on. Let's talk about Bloodmarked, which I am on page 307, but I haven't actually picked this up since last Thursday, so it's been over a week, so I kind of don't remember where I am, and I'm so annoyed. It's because I went away for the weekend and then I came back and like something in my brain had shifted, so I just wasn't picking books up. That's what's been really annoying me about my reading this week, is like I've just not been picking books up. So it is no fault of this book. I was really into it, I was really loving it. I read like 100 pages in each sitting that I was reading this in. I just haven't picked it up a week. But I'm over halfway through. Things are very exciting. This is another young adult book, so like it's got that kind of fast-paced, not super complex is the only word I can think of, but things kind of just happen quite quickly, and it's not got the most planning or allusions to events in the world. Like I think there's plenty. It's not like things are coming out of nowhere, but it's not like this extremely intricate plot. This is also really fun. It's got that like teenagers without any adult supervision to take over the world, hopefully not, to save the world, ideally. It's got that kind of vibe to it at the moment. They're sort of on the run. Much drama has happened. This is the second book in a series, so I'm not going to detail anything, but it's all very like fast-paced and exciting. There's tensions between characters. Bree's best friend Alice is involved, which I feel like is reasonably safe to say in terms of spoilers, and I really like her. I really like the kind of way that her involvement in the plot is adding like tension and ooh, what's the word that I'm looking for without being spoilery? But it means that we're kind of, the like fantastical, Arthurian, magical stuff that's happening in this plot is not completely untethered from the real world. And I think that is partly because Alice is involved and she's kind of an outsider, but also not, but like she's very much like of the real world and reality, and so it's not, does that make any sense? Because this is the thing that annoys me sometimes in, and why I don't always get on with like contemporary fantasies, if that's even the genre for it, but you know, when it's like the normal world but some people have magic, is when within that plot you're so just within the magical elements of the story that you might as well not be in the contemporary real world, and then it just feels like lazy world building. But that is not what this book is doing. I really don't know how to talk about things except by explaining what they're not doing. Anyway, I don't remember what's happening in the plot because it's been over a week, but I can't tell you anyway because spoilers. I should probably stop babbling about this, but I will say, so I reread the first book because on the initial read of Legendborn, I was confused, and after it finished didn't really know the ins and outs of what had happened and the magic and all that. I reread Legendborn, did not find it confusing, found it relatively really quite easy to follow. And now this book, having recently reread Legendborn, I am also finding this easy to follow. It's introducing new stuff in like the wider world of the Arthurian secret society type stuff that's going on. There's a lot more being introduced. We're like developing our understanding of what goes on as Bree is developing her understanding of like the Arthurian magical stuff, but it's not complicated or confusing to read. I don't feel like I don't understand it. I hope that made sense. I've also read more of Red Seas Under Red Skies. I'm now on page 227. I'm about a third of the way through. This is a real chunky book. This has pirate stuff going on, which I probably should have guessed from the title and the ships, but I didn't. But that's a nice surprise, because I think pirate vibes in fantasy book are always quite fun. It's hard for me to explain how I feel about this series. This is kind of, again, this is the second book in a series, so without giving like spoilers for the first book, it's similar vibes in that it is Locke Lamora and co pulling off cons and heists and tricksy shenanigans, basically. There are several people on their tail trying to use / kill them because of events in the first book, but so far in the first third, the kind of main plot of this has been kind of isolated from the first book, but also more of the same in that they're trying to pull off like a extravagant con to take money from rich people. So the whole like heist con type thing is not my most favourite type of storyline. For no real reason. I don't dislike it, I just don't particularly like it. I'm fairly neutral on it. And this is a really chunky book. This is over 600 pages of a kind of storyline that I don't particularly actively enjoy. So reading this is like a weird experience. I read quite a lot over last weekend when I was away because I have the Kindle ebook, and I was reading that so I didn't have to take my book with me. And like I read it quite quickly and I enjoy it while I'm reading it, but it's one of those that like I'm not itching to pick it up, even though it's the kind of story, because they're pulling off all this sneaky trickery, it's the kind of story that you'd think you'd read and be wanting to like figure out what they're going to do or how they've done what they've already done. I'm just not that interested. I think it's the same thing, like I don't really love a mystery or a thriller, like I'm just not really drawn to trying to figure stuff out. I don't know, it's just not something I super enjoy in books. I'm not sure what I'm saying. I don't have that much to say, to be honest, because I don't know what's happened or what is happening, and therefore I don't know how to feel about it. I think that is maybe my issue with like mysteries and stuff, and like anything that is trying to be like suspenseful and keep you guessing, because I feel like I need to know that to know how I feel about it. It's like, I think it's tied to the reason why I like rereading things and like rewatching like movies and TV shows and stuff, is because once I know the shape of a thing, I like can actually think about how I feel about it, whereas I'm like, well, I can't have opinions on this book when I'm deliberately being kept in the dark in a way. And I know that that's exactly what a lot of people really enjoy about this type of story, but like that aspect of the reading experience is not something I particularly care for, but like I am still enjoying it, but also am I still enjoying it, or am I just feeling apathetic about reading in general because I've not really been reading this week? I don't know. I will keep going with it, probably, and I will probably enjoy it. I'm gonna shut up about this now. And then after finishing my audiobook for The Sound of Stars, I picked up a new audiobook. I am listening to The Lights of Prague by Nicole Jarvis. I'm actually really close to finishing this. I've read more since that bookmark. I'm probably going to finish this today, and if I do, I will try and film an update, just so I'm not taking too many books into the next vlog, because that really annoys me. But anyway, this is a book I bought kind of on a whim. I want to say like 2 years ago. I think I bought it early 2021, because it's vampires, and that's all I knew, and that's all I needed to know. This is a historical set in Prague, low fantasy, with vampires and other monsters and like folklore-y type creatures. Like there's will-o'-the-wisps, and there was a couple of other creatures mentioned that I don't remember the names of them because I'm listening to the audio and in one ear and out the other. We have two main characters. Our one main character, Domek, is a lamplighter who are kind of actual lamplighters lighting lamps in the city, but that's a cover for their real purpose, which is to kill evil beasts of the night. And then our other main character, whose name is Lady Aura. She is one of these evil beasts of the night. She's a vampire, but she is, you know, she's a good vampire. And they have like a bit of a flirtation, not knowing who the other is. But yeah, there is a romance subplot. It's more like lovers to enemies, because they don't realise they're enemies until they're already lovers. Anyway, that is like, it's a subplot. It's a significant subplot, but it is a subplot. I'll keep it as brief as possible, because Lord knows I can't get my words out. Our two main characters they know each other, they have this existing flirtation, but they are both sort of drawn into this new threat, plot, something going on the streets of Prague, but from like different directions. So Domek is obviously already fighting evil, and he realizes that there's like a big plot going along. He acquires a will-o'-the-wisp, which is very powerful, very dangerous, and then he has people coming after him. Whereas Lady Aura, she is sort of recruited by her noble military type friends to infiltrate said new threat, because it's vampires, and figure out what's going on. And then they encounter each other, and I've not finished it yet, so I don't know how it works out. But much drama. That was a really poor explanation. I'm actually really enjoying this. Like I said, I bought this 2 years ago, kind of on a whim because I like vampires. And then I think just because it's been sat on my shelf for so long, I've sort of lost interest in it, but I saw it was available to listen to on Scribd, so I'll give it a go, because I was kind of considering unhauling this. I don't know why. I don't know why I thought I wouldn't like this. There was just something about it looked like I wouldn't. I don't know, I've read a lot of like kind of shitty historical vampire type books, or I've heard a lot of things about a lot of other shitty historical vampire type books. This is not one of them. I'm actually really enjoying this. It's nothing incredible. Like, I don't know if I'll reread it. I'll probably like unfold the book when I'm done with it, depending how the ending goes, we'll see. But it is good. I can't really speak to how accurate the historical stuff is. I'm not sure when exactly we're set. There's an emperor. Oh no, I do know when we're set. We're at 1868. I don't know how like accurate it is, but I'm not reading it for historical accuracy, so I can kind of not care, because that's not why I'm reading it. But I like that the vampires are kind of a folklore type vampire. I'm just enjoying it. It's a good time. So yes, hopefully I'll finish this today and then be able to tell you some final thoughts. Hopefully I'll be able to get a sentence out. I have no idea how this video is going, because I've been filming it for 2 weeks. I feel like I'm not really here. I feel like we're making too much eye contact right now. It's making me uncomfortable. Hopefully I will have more of an update to give you shortly about the Lights of Prague. I've got about an hour left. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to stick my audiobook in. I'm going to do something productive. I feel like there's probably laundry that I've got to do. So that's the plan. I'll see you in an hour. I'm not going to lie to you, this is the same coffee I was drinking several hours ago, but reheated in a microwave safe mug. I finished my book. I said I would. This was good. I kind of don't have anything more to say about it. I'm like, this was good. Yeah, it was good. I didn't love it. I didn't dislike anything about it. I feel positive about this book. I probably won't reread it. I think this is a debut though, so I am quite impressed. If this is in fact a debut, then I am impressed, like on that basis. I thought this was very solid. I will probably read if she's got anything else out, or if she comes out with anything else and it sounds interesting, I'll probably give it a read. I will say I think it's blended the historical fiction with the fantasy in a more fantasy heavy way, if that makes any kind of sense. Like, very often I see books that are pitched as like historical fantasy as just being a historical fiction with a non-fantasy main plot, but like fantastical elements. Does that make any sense? I'm thinking of The Binding by Bridget somebody. I'm not sure. I read that book because it was pitched as this like historical fantasy. It's about like books and bookbinding and memories, and it's also queer. And I thought it was a fine book, but it wasn't what I thought it would be given how it was pitched. And I think a lot of, especially more like, this is going to sound really pretentious, but a lot of especially more like mainstream or like mass market appeal, if that's the right phrase, probably not. Somebody who does book publishing and marketing will know the words, but stuff that's pitched to like not the genre fans, but like general readers as fantasy is usually actually more contemporary or more straight up historical with like very low fantasy elements. Whereas this, again, I'm doing that thing where I'm like describing this book by what it's not. This wasn't that. This was solidly historical. Again, I don't know how accurate the historical elements were. It didn't focus on any big historical events. It was just happening in the past in Prague. But it was like a solid like fantasy. Everything revolved around the fantasy elements of this book. The vampires and the potential cure and the weird other like magic and stuff that was going on. Even though it was also set in a Prague where the majority of people don't know, I don't think the majority of people don't know that these like magical creatures exist. And I think it did that really well. It did that in a way that I actually enjoyed for a change. So I did like this. I thought this was good. It wasn't mind-blowing for me, but there's nothing wrong with it. And like I say, I'll probably read or at least look at anything else that she either has come out with or comes out with in the future. I'm not sure when this was, when were you published? Well, look, I don't think I've ever heard anybody else talk about this book. This was published in 2021, so this was published since I've been on BookTube and since I've been like very aware of the books that are coming out. And I don't think I've heard anybody talk about this. Have I missed it? But yeah, like I'd give it a go for sure if you're interested. And I'm going to put that down now and stop talking about it because this vlog has either been very long or very short. I'm not sure how many clips I've filmed. My brain has turned to mush completely, like not filming for a week and I've just forgotten how to do it. So I am going to leave that there now. I'm going to drink my coffee before it goes cold for a second time. And yes, I hope that you've enjoyed this vlog. Hopefully I'll get back on track with things and be a bit more normal. We'll see. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me. If you made it to the end of this video, I commend you. You deserve some kind of award, probably. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.